Hey everybody, Dirili here. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Hakuoki Kyoto Wins. We are on Nagakura Shinpachi's route. Oh, it's actually been a day since I recorded, so I can't remember exactly where we are. So let's just jump right into the story so I can remember. You can just sit back, relax, and let me read you a story. July 1867. 3 months had passed since Ito had left the Shinsengumi, taking his men and others with him. So that's where we are. And right off the bat we're skipping. We're right after when Ito left. And I must tell Sen, yes, I am staying with the Shinsengumi for a man. And stay in my room. Back to being a shut-in again. Run away from the room this time. And call for help for once. Facing Kazuma, all I could do was... Help! Is anyone near? All I could do was call for help. But as expected, it seemed like the rest of the warriors were still occupied in the front. Maybe Kazuma had already known that there was no use in screaming for help, or he was unfazed. He slowly reached out toward me.
There's no use in calling for help. Now, just come with me. You bastard! Not a single step closer!
Hooray! This is the first time I think I've seen Shinpachi fight a demon. Suddenly, Nagakura came to my side. Nagakura!
Damn you! How dare you get in my way, you insect! What? Did you just call me an insect? Now listen carefully, bub.
Nagakura took a deep breath before shouting at the top of his lungs.
I am Shinpachi Nagakura, captain of the Shinsengumi 2nd Division. I heard her calling for help, so now I'm here to beat your ass. The smaller the dog, the bigger the bark.
Kazuma struck quickly, but Nagakura had been able to shift his feet and parry the slash.
I see. You really are strong. You bastard.
Kazuma pushed him backward, but Nagakura was able to sidestep and push back with his sword.
Ooh, that all you got, you bastard! You dare bark at me, human. Do you really think you can protect her with your sorry display of strength? Chizuru is integral to the Shinsengumi. That's why we're protecting her. No, I'll protect her. You fool.
Oh my god, I've never seen Kazuma look quite that angry before, I don't think.
Gah!
Nagakura was thrown to the floor, but he shot right back up and entered into his offensive stance.
This is nothing. Okay, demon, or whatever you are, I'm clearly the result of these ripped muscles and swordsmanship too. Your strength is nothing, just a worthless human.
Kazuma leapt up, swinging his blade down hard.
Hey, Shinpachi, are you alright? Leave the rest to us.
Nagakura, thanks for holding up. Harada and Sanen's voices sounded in the inner yard.
Damn, the insects are gathered, but no matter how many there are, they are no match for me. You won't know until you find out.
The tensions in the inner yard were coming to a head when all of a sudden a gunshot went off.
Gonna have to stop you there. I have a message for General Kazuma. Time for us to retreat. What do you mean? Supposedly, the Nishihong Wanji knew all about this ruckus. Amagiri said we gotta get going now. You go home if you want to. I figured you'd say that, but hey, at least you can't say I didn't tell you. Do what you want. Ugh, we got disturbed.
Kazuma put his sword back into the sheath, and shot Nagakura the most hateful glance.
Your life was spared. Huh, you're the one that was spared. Hey!
Before Nagakura could finish, Kazuma and Shiranui had already leapt over the wall of the inner yard with ease.
Hey, Shiranui, stop!
We're going after them. Harada and Sanen ran after the two. Then, after everything, Nagakura and I were the only ones left in the courtyard. Nagakura held tightly onto his sword and slowly began loosening his grip.
That bastard's a strong one. Ouch.
Thank you, Nagakura.
Don't mention it. The hell is he thinking, trying to take a girl against her will? Well, no matter how many times they come, I'll protect you.
Please don't push yourself. Be careful. But please don't push yourself. You may get injured. Happy that I'm concerned about him.
Thanks. Even you're worrying about me now. Still, even more than making sure I don't get hurt, I don't want to think about losing you, Chizuru.
Oh, he's getting sweet on me now. So, does that mean...
Well, look, I just don't like the thought of it is all.
You don't want to lose your little sister?
So, I'm gonna continue protecting you. Call me anytime for help, alright?
Thank you. Nagakura seemed to play it off, and he mumbled quickly to himself before walking away. Phew. After time passed to the following day, we get to skip. And here, can I be one too? I was sure I couldn't guess what Nagakura and Harada would think about, but seeing Kondo sad was something my heart wouldn't leave alone. Do you think I could do it too? I couldn't stop myself from blurting out the question. Well, that really shocked him. I felt useless around the Shinsengumi more than once. They always took the time to look after me, and I hated being so powerless. If I was a samurai, maybe if I had studied more than the basics of sword fighting, I would have been able to help them. Everyone's feelings toward the Shinsengumi, toward belonging to something important, had aroused similar feelings in me. If, like you said, class and social standing have no bearing on becoming a samurai, then... could I be a samurai too? His eyes shot up, but instead of dismissing me, he seemed to be considering it seriously. As long as you don't let anybody ever know you're a girl. His voice was matter-of-fact when he replied.
Yeah, I think if it was you, you could do it.
I heard no laughter in his tone. He was being sincere. But then, Kondo shook his head slowly.
However, it's enough that you feel that way. You are a kind girl, and my greatest wish for you is that you'll be able to return to a normal life and be happy. This is no life for you.
A normal life? There was no doubt in his eyes that I would have that someday, and the smile he gave me was warm. I was at a loss for words. To think that he was so kind that he would wish my future was a happy one, despite my being a demon, causing trouble for the Shinsengumi. Tears threatened to spill over, but I rapidly blinked, determined to hold them back. And skipping more? I want Chizuru to train to be a samurai. That would be an interesting route. And at this point, I must still want to help. And I'll do anything! And of course this time I ran after Nagakura. I couldn't just leave Nagakura alone after that, so I ran after him. Wait for me! Nagakura had retreated into the darkness of the common room. He stood alone in the middle of the vast, empty space, sitting and burying his face in his hands. He was trembling from feeling helpless and angry, so I slowly approached him from behind. Nagakura? Oh.
I knew in my heart that I needed Heisuke to pull through. So, I couldn't stop Sanin. Should I have let Heisuke die as a hero? Or let him live on as a fury? I don't know.
Nagakura was almost shouting at himself from frustration, but they were the same sentiments that I was feeling. I feel the same way too, Nagakura. I wanted him to live, but I didn't want him to use the serum. I couldn't help but feel the same. But it was his choice in the end. So, I know where you're coming from. Nagakura slowly picked himself up, and he sighed heavily. Well, at least I can be of some comfort to him. He was able to force a smile, and he looked into my eyes.
Thanks, Chizuru. I feel a little better hearing you say all that.
Then he gave another sigh, knowing that anything he could say would still be presumptuous. There's nothing more we could do, but there was so much to worry about. What's going to happen to Heisuke?
Well, guess it's kind of up to him.
That night, all Nagakura and I could do was to pray for him to recover. And skip. And this time we'll stay here instead of trying to help out. And now we are in Chapter 5, December 1867. So now we are officially on Nagakura's route. Though there may still be some skipping to do. Oh, and yep, there is. And the trophy is out of the friend zone. We finally made it out of the friend zone because we're on his route, I guess. Kyoto was still on high alert. The Shinsengumi remained on standby at the Fushimi Magistrate's office through the year-end celebrations. I'd hoped that tempers would calm and the threat of war would fade away. One night, as the end of the year was approaching, I'd gone outside to the inner yard of the magistrate to find Nagakura standing alone. I guess it wasn't something too out of the ordinary, but occasionally he'd look up at the sky above, sigh for a second, and then repeat the process. It wasn't too much like the Nagakura I'd known. It wasn't like I could pretend I didn't see him, however, so I found myself reaching out. Nagakura, did something happen?
Oh, it's you, Chizuru. Don't sweat it. I was just thinking about stuff.
Nagakura turned to face me, but his face seemed tired and dejected. He was clearly out of it. Normally he'd have such boundless energy, but I guess everyone is entitled to days like these. Is it about the war?
No, it's not about that. It's kinda like,
It seemed like he had something else on his mind, and I shouldn't force him to talk about something that he didn't want to talk about. So I decided to walk back in after ending our conversation when...
You remember the other day when Sanin passed out the water of life, yeah?
Oh, yes.
I never liked that stuff, and I never ever thought I'd even come close to using it. Like, I've never considered drinking it for cool powers, and I don't ever think I'll need it to save my skin.
But you'll take it to save me, won't you?
I just kinda figured that it was something a man shouldn't touch. That's why I didn't accept the serum.
After he expressed these feelings, Nagakura sighed, rubbing his temples with his hands.
That I have no regrets about. But if I have all these feelings about using it, part of me thinks that I'm projecting these feelings onto Heisuke.
Don't judge him.
Can I accept Heisuke? Can I not? Or is it that I'm not allowing myself to accept him? This is all confusing the hell out of me.
Nagakura confessed his inner thoughts with me. The moral conflict he's articulating was the exact subject that was stressing me out too. I hated the serum, but couldn't deny it saved lives. No matter how much I turned this conundrum over in my head, I couldn't come to an answer. As the daughter of the doctor responsible for bringing the serum to you all, I personally couldn't feel right taking the serum. But I'm happy knowing that both Sanin and Heisuke are still alive because of it. So I understand your struggle, Nagakura. But it kinda got me thinking. I have to think of them in separate terms. The serum is the serum, and Heisuke is Heisuke. All I can say for now is, I want everyone to make the right choice for them, one they won't regret later. I thought it was totally in your nature to reject Sanin's offer. So, if that sits well with you, then I think you made the right decision. And as far as Heisuke goes, I think things could still go back to the way they were before. I mean, you've known him for way longer than I have, Nagakura. You should know Heisuke more than me. Although things are a little crazy, when it comes down to it, the two of you could be close again. Nagakura watched me intently as I spoke, and after a moment he looked up with a bright smile.
You're right. The serum's the serum and Heisuke's Heisuke. You're so right, you know that? How did I miss that, considering he's my friend? It's kind of embarrassing that I need you to tell me that.
He scratched his head with his long fingers, as if trying to be coy. Then he looked me in the eye.
Thank you for that. I can't really accept the serum, and I don't want to use it. But Heisuke's my bro. What's wrong with that? Soon as the war's over, I'm gonna get a drink with Heisuke.
You can get a drink with him before the war's over? Why wait? Unlike the dazed state he'd seemed to be in earlier, Nagakura had returned to his normal self. His enthusiasm was infectious, and it ended up making me feel energetic too. Right!
Well, it's cold. Let's get back in.
With that said, Nagakura flashed another smile at me, and we walked back into the building. His footsteps had a spring in them compared to earlier. I wonder if I really could be some help to him. I hoped that the weight of the stress in his heart would lessen, even if just a little. I prayed to the moon that shined in the night sky as I joined him on our walk back. We had welcomed the new year. The Shinsengumi spent days at the Fushimi Magistrate. Supposedly, the shogunate army, en route from Edo, were going to stop by Osaka for preparations before they arrived in Kyoto. As a response, the Satsuma Choshu, who had gathered forces in Kyoto, planned to intercept the shogunate's army path from Osaka. Fushimi was situated in between Osaka and Kyoto, meaning the fighting would come to us. As the words of these plans spread, Satsuma Choshu forces occupying Fushimi began fortifying positions in anticipation. The Fushimi magistrate receiving word of the enemy's movements buzzed with tension. Being around this atmosphere caused me to wonder whether it was appropriate for me to be around everyone after all. I grew increasingly concerned that I was just going to be a burden on everyone else. It was difficult to shake my doubts. But if no one said anything to me directly, then presumably I was okay to stay. I decided then what was most important was keeping to my duties and staying out of the war. Once I'd accepted this mindset, I set out to prepare meals for each of the men. Doing my part. Since all the warriors were often preoccupied with their duties, gathering everyone to eat as a group became a luxury we could not afford. As soon as the men would finish their meals, they would often go right back to their posts. To make dining simpler, they'd ask me to stick with preparing dishes like rice balls. Food to go. Luckily, the food that was brought to the magistrate were varied and in large numbers on this day, so I put a lot of effort behind planning the dishes. As I was preparing everything, I was worried that I may have bitten off more than I could chew. Watching the warriors eat around me in silence only served to exacerbate my anxiety about the quality of the meal. Just as I was beginning to feel bad, Nagakura appeared from behind me.
Oh man, dinner looks so delicious. There's fish, miso soup, some of those pickles I like. So good.
At least somebody can appreciate my cooking. Oh, please, have as much as you'd like. I've even made enough for seconds.
Oh yeah, I will. I'm about to dig in.
Nagakura glowed, laughing as he piled the food onto his plate. Yeah, I think this is another Zuisoroku scene. The way he was acting made me think he looked no different from his usual self. It made me smile.
What's the matter, Chizuru? Did I get some on my face or something?
Oh no, it's just that you're stuffing the food into your mouth so quickly that it made me happy.
Stuffing food into my mouth? It's so good though, I can't help it.
Thank you. I just can't stop thinking about how stressed everyone is as they eat. I looked over at the table. Most of the plates left untouched and became self-conscious.
Well, personally, I believe that stress eating is the best time to eat because it gives you energy. I mean, whether or not you eat, once war starts, you're going to have to get all the help you can. Can I have seconds, please?
I took Nagakura's rice bowl and scooped a second bowl's worth of rice for him. Here you go. No sooner than the bowl was handed to him did he begin scarfing the rice down. Nagakura always seemed to be smiling, but I know he also felt the pressure of the incoming war. I mean, his best friend Heisuke became a fury. Chief Kondo was in critical condition, and Okita's sickness only looked to be getting worse, which sent the two of them to Osaka for treatment. It got so bad that they almost made him take the water of life as a last-ditch effort. Nagakura's stress had been piling, but he showed no sign of faltering. In fact, it seemed like he was even more chipper than usual, doing his best to brighten the mood. It just shows how strong he really is. Because I knew that Nagakura had already been dealing with so much, I didn't want to burden him with my own feelings, but there was something I'd been meaning to ask him. Nagakura, mind if I ask you something?
What is it? Ask me anything you want, as long as it's something I can answer.
I paused for a minute to gather my thoughts. Then I spoke up. Do you think it's okay for me to continue living here? Nagakura stopped eating, and his eyes thinned as he tried to read into my intentions.
What do you mean by that?
Well, you know, I was worried that everyone was growing tired of having me around, and that I'd just be a burden. Nagakura quietly placed his rice bowl on the table. It seemed like this question was something he'd already asked himself. Both he and I sat for a moment in awkward, but not totally uncomfortable silence. Nagakura seemed conflicted about whether he should answer honestly or not, but he looked determined and answered.
I'm not really one to sugarcoat things, so I'm going to just be straight up with you.
Right.
I honestly feel like it would be better if you had gone with them to Osaka Castle.
His answer was something I'd sort of expected to hear. It wasn't something I didn't consider. Me being here with absolutely nothing to offer the Shinsengumi. Cooking and cleaning, come on! So maybe it was better if I just left them. But realizing this case also made me realize I didn't really have anywhere else to go. What could I say? Okay, I understand. I was ashamed by how much of a burden I'd imposed on everyone. Besides, with everything going on, if the demons were to appear, I don't think the Shinsengumi could afford to help. So perhaps it's best that I depart from the Shinsengumi. Okay, I understand. Tears almost poured out, and I looked away. As soon as I'm done washing all the kitchen, I'll prepare my things for Osaka. I gritted my teeth and tried to keep my composure. I was fighting back warm tears and placed my hands on the floor as I bowed to Nagakura. Thank you for all the moments we shared together. I can't thank you enough.
Oh, hey, wait. It's not like we don't like having you around or something. I mean, hey.
It seemed at last the cracks were beginning to show, and his kindness became a source of pain. No, it's fine, I know. I can't keep relying on Nagakura anymore. I didn't want him to see my face, which was puffy from tears, so I stood and turned around.
Hey, I told you it's not like that.
Nagakura grabbed my wrist tightly. Nagakura?
Oh.
Even he was surprised by the forwardness of his actions, and he stepped back for a moment. Then, as if doubling down on his feelings, he held on to my hands, this time even tighter.
Listen to me, Chizuru. I'm not trying to get you to leave, it's just that...
He seemed nervous, his voice quivering as he held me closer to his chest. Oh.
Think about it. The Satsuma are setting up camps nearby, and if this war happens, then this place will become a site for battle, you know? So, I just didn't want you to be afraid. You know what I mean, Chizuru?
I'd be lying if I said I wasn't scared. The casualties suffered in war were horrific.
Besides, Chizuru, we're the ones who kind of forced you to stay with us, yeah? Yeah, it's not like you have to serve or anything, but if we were responsible for hurting you, then I don't think I could live with myself. So if you plan on leaving us at any point in the future, I think now would be the time.
But I don't wanna... After expressing how he felt, Nagakura slowly scratched his head, silently frustrated at himself.
Look, Chizuru, I just don't want my little sis to get hurt is all.
No, not back in the sister zone again. I thought we were out of that.
I don't want to see you cry or hurt yourself or be in any kind of pain. There's gotta be something better out there for you, and I want that for you too.
Nagakura. It didn't seem like he liked how he phrased things, and he chewed on his lower lip anxiously, almost as if he weren't truly aware of how he really felt about the whole situation.
Sorry. I've been so busy telling you what I want, I didn't even ask what you want. So, Chizuru, want to tell me what you really think? Do you want to stay with us, or...?
I look at him straight in the eye as I slowly started to open up. You see, I know deep down that I can't do anything for you guys. If I continue to stay here, I'll only be a burden on everyone. But even then... As I spoke, I noticed Nagakura warming me with his tender gaze. Perhaps my selfish desires were causing some trouble for him. But surprisingly, I'd realized what I really wanted all along was... I would like to continue to stay here, beside everyone.
Huh, gotcha.
He seemed to sink deep into a sea of thoughts, and he closed his eyes slowly. The silence he created between us made me sit a little uneasy. I began to regret any of my concerns in the first place, and I felt so selfish for doing so.
Gotcha.
He repeated himself, but as he opened his eyes again, the word felt a lot more confident.
Well, alright then. If that's how you feel, then I need to kick my ass into gear.
Huh?
I mean, you look like you're on the verge of crying. How could I not try and give you whatever you wanted?
Nagakura flashed a smile as bright as the sun, and he took me by the hand.
Leave it to me, Chizuru. There's nothing for you to be worried about. If you want to stay here, I'll protect you.
Aw, that's my man.
If we want to win the war, it won't be enough to use my strength, but... protecting just one girl isn't gonna kill me, right? So don't worry about a thing.
Are you sure about that? Are you sure it's okay for me to stay?
Don't be stupid. Once a man makes a promise, you let him keep it. Here, let's pinky swear. That way you can trust me, right?
Oh, I can trust you even without a pinky swear. But a pinky swear is cute. Nagakura offered me his pinky. In response, I timidly offered mine back to him. Then Nagakura wrapped their fingers tightly, and his finger felt warm entwined with my own.
I swear, cross my heart, hope to die.
Ah, so cute. His fingers seemed to transfer the warmth of his smile through my entire body.
Everything will be fine, Chizuru.
Nagakura never broke his promises. After spending all of these years by his side, I knew that my trust wouldn't go unrewarded.
Let's grub, and I want to see that smile of yours.
Okay. I think he would feel a lot better if I told him that it would all be okay. I nodded to his suggestions, and I gave him a small smile. That smile. In response, Nagakura replied with a gigantic grin from ear to ear.
Yeah, that's the face I'm talking about.
Okay.
Alrighty, cross my heart, hope to die.
He shook our interlocked fingers, and he let mine go. The way he had made me feel seemed to wash away all my worries. Thanks to him, my anxiety was melting away.
Alright, now that we settled that, I'm going to build some strength by eating thirds. More food, please.
What? You're gonna eat more? You're on your third one.
Well, can't fight without a meal. If you want a happy life, you gotta work hard, play hard, and eat hard.
Okay, then I'll eat even more too. I tried to match his energetic tone, and it actually made me feel better. I knew that the Shinsengumi had been facing so many problems recently, but even with all that was going on, Nagakura gave me a sense of peace. Until the day comes that he realizes he's better off living his life, I will continue to spend time with him, relying on him just a little bit longer. January 3rd, 1868. The year end was filled with tension, but we were able to welcome the new year without anything happening. As the New Year's Day was coming to an end safely, January 3rd rolled in. A dispute arose between the Satsuma domain and a group of shogunate soldiers attempting to enter Kyoto. Violence broke out, and suddenly, war was upon us. The shogunate army in Kyoto numbered roughly 15,000 men, while the Satsuma Choshu alliance commanded only 5,000. The shogunate army was hoping to barge right into Kyoto with their massive soldier count, but the Satsuma Choshu troops had blockaded the pathway, with no intent of letting them in. I was busying myself in the compound around the time the men began to return from their patrols.
Hey, we're back. Looks like Kyoto's winters are as rough as ever.
Oh, welcome back, guys.
I'm getting real tired of those Satsuma bastards. We ought to be sitting in a nice warm room getting drunk, not out there stamping out fires. You know I haven't even gotten any zoni this year.
He continued muttering angrily to himself as he pulled off his coat and hung it up.
Oh, Nagakura, you haven't stopped talking about zoni once all day. Well, can you think of anything better to do during New Year's than eat mochi and sleep? Or maybe, do you think Satsuma doesn't celebrate New Year's?
I don't think it was a matter of doesn't, but rather a matter of couldn't. However, the same went for us on the shogunate side as well. I wasn't sure what was to become of any of us. But for now, all I could wish for was the new year to be celebrated in peace. Nagakura, do you really think this war will happen? Isn't it already happening?
Well, I don't think the Satsuma Choshu would be dumb enough to start something. I mean, we have like 15,000 men, and they have around 5,000. Considering the difference in manpower, I mean, it's obvious who would win, but even then. The Satsuma Choshu are no strangers to war, and they have a lot of advanced weapons. We can't be too complacent.
Just then, we heard the boom of a large explosion from outside the building. The sound!
That was gunfire, wasn't it?
The earlier good humor evaporated, and every face in the room turned toward the source of the sound, tense and serious.
So, it's finally started, huh?
That gunshot was the beginning of what would later become known as the Battle of Toba-Fushimi. We later learned that the Satsuma had opened fire on shogunate soldiers attempting to enter Kyoto, but at the same time we'd heard it, we knew nothing.
Who do you think fired that shot?
Shinpachi, you stay put. I'll first go report this to the commander.
I guess I'll go gather up the other men then. I'll go call them.
Harada left to call the other warriors in the building. The magistrate was in a frenzy with activity, with people buzzing back and forth throughout. Eee! A deafening explosion tore through the air, and the building itself shook. It was no gunshot this time.
What the hell was that? It wasn't an earthquake, was it? No, couldn't have been. But that means...
Saito and Nagakura looked at one another, then ran off out the door of the building.
So, what's going on? What the hell?
I could hear their voices outside. What was going on? Ah! A cluster of shots rang out and they jumped.
Hey, are you alright?
What's going on out there?
There's a cannon in the ruined temple. It has to be the Satsuma.
A cannon? No! Eee! The wall shook again as the cannon's thunderous report tore through the air.
Damn it, if this keeps up, we're done for.
Harada had returned from the outside, and he bit his lip in clear frustration.
Can't we just go over there and take their cannon, Shinpachi?
If only it were that easy.
Maybe, but it'll be tough. They've got small arms too, a lot of them.
Ah! Isn't there some way we can make them stop shooting at us? Surrender, maybe? I mean, couldn't we shoot back at them with a cannon or something? It was a foolish idea and I knew it, but I felt so useless just standing around and screaming. I had to do something.
That'd be a tough call.
Why?
We have cannons too, but we don't have enough men who can use it.
Oh no. Then there was nothing we could do? We just had to sit here and let them attack us?
But we're not just gonna stand here and take it either.
Okay, and sorry for the abrupt break, but I gotta stop here. So we'll pick up on our last stand at the Fushimi Magistrate in the next episode. So hope to see you there or in some of my other videos. And I'd be so grateful for any likes, comments, subscriptions, or shares with your friends to show some support. Thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you all health, happiness, and safety. Dirili signing out. Bye bye everybody.